It's amazing, really. Chiloquin used to be a boom town. There were 7 lumber mills in this area. And the forests have all been cut down now, and the boom town has gone away. And it's made a big difference. Chiloquin is gradually diminishing to nothing. There's a little alfalfa growing and a few tourists, and that's what we survive on.
It used to be pretty much a logging community, not so much anymore. If you work in Prospect, you either work at the school, you work at the Forest Service, there's a few stores, restaurants around, but most people have to travel to the valley to work, that kind of thing. But they choose to live up here because it's beautiful.
There's a population of about 500 more or less, 4-H clubs, the churches. We're always having fundraisers for something or other.
It starts with the relationship with the communities. When we go into the communities to discuss our actual visit there, you contract with different aspects of the community. It may be the football team for moving bags, it may be the Lions Club for serving breakfast, but each of those groups is getting something in return. They're getting the experience of working with the cyclists, but they're also getting a cash contribution to the community that's much larger than they'd get from a bake sale. In a year, we probably spend about $150,000 with the 7 communities that we visit.
We're trying to raise money so that we can insulate the church. It's built in 1912, of course, it has no insulation in it. When we turn the heat on, we have to turn it on Saturday, so it'll be warm enough on Sunday when it gets down to, 0 or so in the winter. And we spend about $200 a week just for that heat, for those 24 hours.
This is a great opportunity for Bly to make that much money. The community center that everybody in town uses, the floor in the kitchen is about to fall through. That's going to be a priority.
We have a really high socioeconomic need here, and every little bit we can do for kids. I don't like to see a kid go hungry.
The financial impact is huge because this community is living on the edge, you might say. And so the very fact that Cycle Oregon is coming through and paying us to be volunteers is just, I can't even tell you what that's going to allow us to do. We're already thinking about all the exciting things we can put in our budget now.
Some years I think the ride is sort of the least important part of it. The ride-in is sort of almost incidental. It's really, it's much more about community. It's about bringing people from the urban areas, because an overwhelming percentage of our riders come from urban areas. So just by taking people from the cities and out there and planting them for a while and having them sit on somebody's front porch or camp under the stars, you get a better sense of what that's all about than simply by sitting at home and reading about it in the newspaper maybe.
I find it's the people in the smallest towns that seem to really go out and to be the friendliest.
Coming in at the end of the day and having all the volunteers out there cheering and signs and chocolate milk and makes the really hard days really worth it at the end.
You know, you wrote it, but they're there cheering for you.
And they're so excited. We took a swim in Silver Lake, and there were 2 young girls that had their pool open to all of us, and they were so cute. They said, it's been so much fun meeting people from all over. They said, we thought it would just be people from Oregon. And they said, we met somebody from Germany today and somebody from New Zealand today, and they were so excited. And that makes it, it makes you feel good.
Last year when I did it because I wanted to enjoy a bike ride. But this year, the main reason, aside from Crater Lake, was because of all the little communities that we visit. It was a part of Cycle Oregon that I didn't really know existed until last year, and this year really is visiting all these small towns that used to be dependent on timber, and now they're changing industries to be dependent on tourism, and just seeing how those towns are being revitalized. And it's nice to be able that we actually give back.
I grew up on the coast, and I'd heard of Bly, but I'd never been there. And so now, 40 years later, I've actually made it there and got to see it, long overdue, and just got to talk with a bunch of the folks in the town and the community, and kind of why they're there and what they do, and how they sustain themselves, and it was wonderful.
And I've revisited a couple of them just because they're so unique, and to get to some of these places, you go through such beautiful, beautiful country. It's a delight to come back.
The first year I rode back in 2003, we went through Joseph, and I'd never been there. and I fell in love with Joseph, and I took my family there the next summer. And that's the kind of thing that Cycle Oregon, I think, brings. It connects both parts of the state.
It's also really rewarding to just see that the transformation in a way that can go through some of those rural communities during the course of a Cycle Oregon visit. You know, when we first talked to some of those towns, you know, on a January day in Bly or Silver Lake or Burns or you know, any of hundreds of the towns that we've been, and life sort of looks pretty grim. They're not exactly convinced that they can actually pull this off. And then, you know, we roll into town 9 months later, and Main Street is all spruced up, and everyone in town and everyone from 30 miles away is right there, and it looks like the most hustling, bustling place.
So one of the things I'm most proud of being a Cycle Oregon board member is that we can come out to a town like Bly, Oregon, and create this energy within the community. We hear, yeah, it's great that you bring money, but you also forced us to work together.
I think it pulls us together as a community, you know, because we have the community club and they act on their own, and the Lions Club and they act on their own, the school sometimes, but it pulls us together for one purpose. I had somebody come in my office today and say, how can I help? And where do you need me? They all want to pitch in and want to be a part of it.
You know, so every bit of the community, you know, is involved, and so it's really a community effort. 100% support. We've never had this many flags up in our community ever, and people starting to go, hey, I like this.
We've got a lot of community pride, you know, and we have cleaned up and we are showing our pride, you know, just by the bicycle contest, the balloons, the decorations, so many volunteers. Got a friend in a wheelchair. She said, you come get me, I want to be on the sidelines. So
almost like, you know, dressing up for the family photo kind of thing, you know, you get everything all ready and to show it off and have people here and, you know, spruce up the house or whatever you have to do, you know.
I think it's exciting for them to get to see our small community and take that opportunity to find out about us and see where we're at. And that's 2,200 people that will know where Prospect is when you say, where's Prospect, Oregon?
And of course, it's always fun to be in the grocery store, the little mom and pop grocery store, or the local tavern on the night that Cycle Oregon is town. We routinely set sales records wherever we go in these taverns and mom and pop stores. So we tell people that we're going to do that, but you know what, some of the places, they don't actually believe that we're really going to show up.
A lot of times we'll triple the population of a town, and so it's a giant boost to the small rural communities.
we went and had dinner at the cafe last night, and then I drove by later and it was packed. So that's the kind of thing we like to see, is helping out our local businesses.
Like we're going to go to the Prospect Trophy Room, whatever it is right now. But that's the way
spend a little money.
Yeah, spend a little money, which I'm assuming is what they would like you to do when you come through the communities.
I remember last year going into Powers, talking to one of the ladies who worked at the general store. And I remember she was saying that they made as much money in one day there as what they will for 3 to 4 months out of the year. The place where I ate lunch today, the waitress was like, "You're going to be back next year, right?" I'm like, "I may come on vacation, but I don't think the ride's going to be here next year." But she was so excited. This is something that, you know, they may never see any, like a town of like 500 people having 2,000 people coming at once. I mean, that never happens unless it's an invasion.
There have been challenges, there's no doubt. But on the whole, we tried to listen to what the communities wanted from us, what their expectations were when they first extended the invitation to us. And we tried to be as good guests as we possibly could everywhere that we went. So as a result, you know, I think our reputation is good in communities throughout the state and across all sort of shades of the political spectrum in Oregon. But we managed to share this sort of single vision that there's a richness about rural community Oregon life and something that we can all learn from it. For me, it's never been that much about the bicycle, and anyone who will watch me ride up a hill can tell you it's still not